All right, hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm doing a semi-live interview with a good friend and a future business partner, Mr. Kudwy. Just so you guys know, he never agreed to be my business partner, but I'm too. Now, the way I would describe this kid, I genuinely believe this kid would be one of the greatest senators or governors or even judges America has ever had. I specifically avoided president because I don't think he'd make a great president, but we shall see. Now, I have gathered some questions based on people in my server asking me to ask him. And before I ask you any questions, how would you describe yourself?
6 foot, tall,
Tall, dark,
handsome.
Yeah. Okay.
You're meaning politically, right?
No, I mean, actually, no, believe it or not, because you're literally the first person I'm going to interview. So, how would you think I should talk to famous people? Because I consider you a internet famous person. My friends on this server disagree, but I do, and I have 3 other people lined up, and I want to interview them, and I think you're the best at this. So how do you think I should ask people to introduce themselves?
I don't know. You would just set the context for the beginning of the interview, and then you just kind of give it to the interviewee, and just be like, "Yeah, introduce yourself."
Okay, fine. I would say in the context of you, your personal life, and your political and philosophical views.
Yeah, I grew up during my sophomore year in high school as a conservative, and then kind of made my way to libertarianism, and now I've been an objectivist for about 2.5 years. These answers that I will be providing would be objectivism applied, but will not be representing objectivism, considering I'm not an intellectual on objectivism such as others.
Wow. Okay, I have a lot of positive adjectives to describe you, and humble would not have been one of them, but wow, that was a very humble answer. I actually do think you're one of the most intelligent objectivists I've ever met in my life, and you're the reason I have 2 Ayn Rand books ready for me to literally, after I finish reading Jordan Peterson's book, I'm going to actually read those books literally because of you. I've never read a book because of someone, and usually when I read books it's because of school or something. So I think, wow, quite humble. Okay, can I ask how old you are? I mean, I know
18.
the age. Okay. Now, do you want to be a father?
Perhaps when I'm roughly about 30, 32.
And I should have said husband first, then father. Husband one day?
Perhaps, yeah. I look forward to it.
Okay. And, where do you think your future boyfriend is going to be from?
That's a loaded question.
Sorry, your future husband. Where do you think he's going to be from?
That's still a loaded question.
Seriously, I do want to know, where do you, what state or country do you want to raise your family?
Definitely in America.
All right, good answer. I would accepted Florida, but that's a good answer too. And when do you want to pursue your career, and what career would that be?
I'm currently pursuing it now. My career path is being an intellectual historian within Black America from the 19th century until now. I'm currently pursuing it now by getting involved in organizations that are tailored to my career path that looks good on the resume, and just kind of continuously reading relevant information toward that career path so I can be knowledgeable when I do enter it officially.
Oh, I mean, you do realize historians have, in Canada at least, have the highest unemployment rate, right?
A pretty high unemployment rate.
Yes.
I mean, sucks to be Canada, I guess.
I mean,
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you may ask it whatever question you want, actually.
I was just wondering if you are in any sort of pre-professional field. I myself am, so.
I mean, the only relevant organizations that I'm a part of are mentoring and community service-based organizations.
I'm asking about your academic path. Like, are you on any pre-professional academic path?
No, I'm on no track right now. I'm just in a major.
All right, perfect. Now, Kudwy, what would you say? Actually, I should have started with this, but what would you say is few of your biggest life achievements? Because I would say the fact that you have Aporiainstitute is your account, right?
Yeah, that account being roughly about 62,000 following.
Exactly.
Following.
I would use that as one of my 60,000 or 62,000 followers. But yeah, what would you say is your life achievement? So.
I definitely say going to the Objectivist conference back in 2021. Just being able to, get a group of guys 3 years ago, talk politics online for fun, and then being able to just actually go somewhere to a conference and all meet up for the first time is definitely exhilarating.
Oh. Just guys? Why not girls?
There's no girls in the organization.
Oh, wow. It must be a very intelligent organization. I apologize. I'm trying to keep this professional. But yeah, would you say it's a very intelligent organization?
Yeah, I would say so.
All right. Now, I'm going to get to the questions. Now, some of the first few questions are super controversial, and I want to ease my way to those. Let's actually just start slowly and say, okay, if you were to vote tomorrow, now, first of all, I know you know this, but I want to, because a lot of, half my audience is UK and Canada. See, in America, they actually have a thing called rights, and some people in that might not. So, but in all seriousness, in the beauty of America, that you can vote for somebody that is a different party in the Senate, and you can vote for a different party in Congress, and a completely different party as president. And that's one of the beautiful things. I really, really wish Canada brings this. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Canada's multi-party system. I think it brings more representation. But in terms of actual voting, there's no such thing as a pure one thing. In Canada, once you vote Liberal, you're Liberal in everything. The Senate and our House and our Prime Minister, all three are just one vote. Now, in America, the beauty is you could vote three different things. If you had to vote tomorrow, I don't want you to tell me exactly who you would vote for, because that would reveal your area. But in Florida, who would you vote as? Not the name, but what party? As the House, Senate, and the presidency.
I'm not entirely sure, but I think kind of conservative. If there's a conservative Democrat, that's somewhere I would really go. I like someone who really represents somebody like Tulsi Gabbard.
Based? Oh my god! That was the last thing I expected from you. Wow, that
pretty based.
Wow, holy. Okay, you have definitely changed, because listen, Kudwy, you and I met 2 years ago. When you were 16, do you remember?
Yep.
Yeah, and I was trying to groom you into. Sorry.
Huh.
Sorry.
Be careful on the timeline with those ropes.
No, legit. I love 16-year-olds. Wait, never mind. Let's
This is crazy because you met me when I was 16 too.
Wonderful. See, I've met two half mixed race people when they were 16. It shows where my life is. Okay, anyway. When I met you, and I hope you really agree with me on this, you would never have said Tulsi Gabbard when you were 16. You agree, right?
Probably not.
Yeah, okay. Because trust me, the person I met, you were very extremely, I would say, capitalistic, libertarian-ish, and stubbornly so, which a part of me was annoyed, but most of me respected that you stood up for yourself, which is good. But as you get older, you should learn that, not everything is as you see. Anyway, okay. So speaking of the voting age, some countries want to lower the voting age. How do you feel about that?
It depends of lower from what age that they have already had, because if they have it at like 65 and wants to lower it, fine. If they have it at 18 and wants to lower it, then that's a different discussion.
Interesting. Okay, good. So now we can actually segue into the age discussion. Would you say, what would you say is a good voting age, actually?
I would say definitely post high school.
18, which is most Western.
Yeah, right.
Okay, interesting. So pretty much what most Western countries are. And then, what would you say is a good age to buy guns?
I would say 18 again.
Interesting. Okay, so for vote and guns, we have 18. What would you say for people? Would you say actually? Let me actually get back to this. Would you say people under 18 should be allowed to buy guns with the consent of their parents?
I don't know. That's a great area.
Yeah. If you want, we can save some of these questions for a future interview, maybe in a month or a week.
I would say that they can be registered for use for people who are under 18, but still would legally be owned by the parents itself. They can't be owned by the kid. So you would have to, as a parent, would have to be able to prove that not only your kid's responsible, but secondly, there would be a purpose in which you would be doing this, such as taking your 16, 17-year-old kid to a shooting range or something like that. But would it be owned by them? No. Can they carry it? No. But it would be an authorization for them to use it in certain scenarios.
Interesting. Would you say the same about tattoos?
Considering tattoos are a long-term permanent thing done to your body. That's it. Wow, that's an interesting one. Hold on, because my answers might conflict with the other question here.
Yeah, no, I told you
That's interesting.
this will be mainly about age stuff. I warned you this before. That's why I said I can save some of these questions, and I can ask it to you a different day if you want.
This is as a young person with a lot of tattoos.
Please, yes, good. Go ahead. Let me just repeat that.
Huh.
Again,
That is a good question.
I told you this will be. If you're having trouble with this, then the surgeries there's going to be a whole different thing.
I know. I have already had my answer for the surgeries, but the issue is that the tattoo and the surgery both reside in the same category, and yet there's two different answers for them.
Exactly, and also, I really don't want to debate this, but I would say the surgery is way more permanent than the tattoo.
Yeah.
You know what? Let me. Could I?
Yeah, nah. The age in which you could yourself get a tattoo and just go up and pay for it, I would say definitely 18. But I think parental consent could play a role here if you're below 18, such as 16.
Interesting. Okay, now, have you ever heard of the concept of emancipated minors?
No.
Okay, this is something interesting that Andrew showed me, is that in some cases in America, and I'm sure most of the Western world would do, but I specifically focus on America, minors could, usually by the time they're 16, they could actually file to be emancipated and no longer be under the jurisdiction of their parents.
Well, yeah, I'm aware of that.
Yeah, okay, good. So that's why I would save you the trouble in sometimes if you want to say emancipated minors should be allowed to do a certain thing, because I'm going to ask you a bunch of age questions. And if you say emancipated minors, then yeah. Because right now, I'm asking for what if the kid wants a tattoo, both parents are saying no. What should happen?
I mean, under the typical scenario, the kid wouldn't get the tattoo, but
Yeah.
in regards of attempting to be an emancipated minor, the kid definitely has to prove his case in court that he's of the same responsibility status as adults.
Exactly. Now, let's also save the trouble. If somebody is above 18, you would agree. I'm going to say a list, and you tell me if there's any of this you would disagree with. Because I'm pretty sure you would agree. When someone's at 18 and they're a legal citizen, they should be allowed to, have sex with whoever they want, as long as it's consensual, obviously. Buy guns, get tattoos, get whatever surgeries, get whatever drugs, get whatever guns. Would you agree with all that?
Yeah.
Exactly. In most cases, obviously, like I'm pretty sure, like if somebody is, a suspected terrorist. Actually, let's ask that. If someone's a suspected terrorist, should they be allowed to buy rockets?
Suspected by who?
This is why I love this kid. He asks the questions. Okay, I would say if the federal government is suspecting he's a terrorist, but they've never charged him or her.
I mean, I don't know. It's really dependent on what type of evidence that they have for him.
Okay, fair enough. No, that one, I'm not going to push it too much. Okay, so when it comes to adults, I'm sure everything I just said, voting, guns, tattoos, surgeries, even assisted suicide, but that should be allowed.
Yep.
Okay, good. So that's what I thought. When it comes to adults,
In your own home.
sorry,
Yeah, suicide in your own home.
of course. Obviously, it'd be kind of dumb if you suicide in the middle of a street, cause a massive traffic jam. Okay, good. So you pretty much take please don't shoot me for this, but pretty much take a basic libertarian argument that adults should pretty much do whatever they want with their body, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, fair enough. So that's why for the rest of this, we're just going to focus on minors, and we could agree that minor is anyone under 18. However, you can choose whatever age you want. And hopefully in 2 months, when I finish Ayn Rand's book, I hope I can find an age. Although, again, you told me she never came up with an age, did you?
I don't think she ever thought about it.
Yeah, no. And the funny thing is, I would say that is the most relevant question of today, because I've spoken to many hardcore conservatives, and even they said, like, if a transgender person wants to cut off their dicks, let them do it. Like, even the most hardcore conservatives said they don't give a shit. It's the minors that is causing such big issues, and I think that is, honest to God, I think that's one of the biggest issues of the entire Western world. Because if a quarter of our minors start, doing some horrific things to their bodies, I do think the future of the West will look very bleak. And speaking of important issues, what would you say is the most important issue of the West? Would you say it's the age, or do you have a different one?
I would definitely say abortion.
Really? Okay, that's wow. I expected either climate change or war or our rights being taken away, but abortion?
Yeah, abortion and civil rights.
Okay, interesting. Wow, I didn't expect that because, I mean, I guess since you're not a parent, I mean, I'm not a parent either, but I guess you don't care much about the children thing, do you?
I also regard that as a major issue, but I don't think it is I don't think it comes down to abortion or civil rights.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so if I had to say war, climate change, civil rights, abortion, out of these four, if you had to only pick one, which one would you say is the most pressing issue?
I would say I would say that abortion is a philosophically rich topic that touches on pretty much almost a lot of aspects of people's implicit and explicit philosophy.
Yes.
So if we can definitely give a rational take on the pro-abortion side, I think that people would have to also make the rest of their political leanings consistent, which that would also include things like war and their view of climate change and so on and so forth. So I think abortion is kind of a paradigm case where you can touch on other people's politics by just talking about that one case.
Wow, fascinating. And again, I don't want to spend this time debating or arguing with you, but I would mostly say you're right. I do think civil rights literally set up every other right. And now you're saying abortion is the most important one. That's again, I don't want to again argue with you. I personally I would have said the parental thing, but that's fine. We could talk about a different day. Okay. So speaking of abortion, do you believe women should be allowed to get abortions whenever they want?
Of course,
Okay. And who should pay for it?
themselves.
Okay. And what if that woman is raped? Who should pay for it?
Herself, or if you catch the rapist, I'm pretty sure you can make a charge against him, or you can, if he does have the assets, you can make him pay for it.
Okay. Okay. I'm glad you said that because I was gonna say, holy shit! If I was even a small famous YouTuber, I would have just said, "Kudwy says raped women should pay for their own abortion." Like, bro, oh my god, that's the one you would have had the left and the right unite against you. You would have massively pissed them both off. Okay, so anyway, so even 8 months and 29 days, that's okay.
10 seconds.
What?
10 seconds.
Okay, interesting, very hardcore. And what if the father wants the kid, and it's been 8 months? No, I get it. But it's been 8 months and 29 days. So all she has to do is just wait one day and she can just give the kid to him. Still, she should have a right to kill the baby?
What baby?
The fetus. No, I genuinely wasn't trying to be like loaded like guys at the beginning. Like at the beginning, it was a joke. I was trying to be loaded. Go ahead. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah. She still has a right to have an abortion.
Okay. I mean, at least you're consistent. I'll give you that. All right, fair enough. Now let's go with the age of abortion. This is going to be interesting. There's an old joke that says, "What does a 13-year-old pregnant?" This is a good joke. I wish I could see your face when I'm telling you this. What does a 13-year-old pregnant girl have in common with the fetus inside her?
Both of them are saying my mom's gonna kill me.
Yes. I hope that made you at least smile. Did it?
Yep.
Good. Okay, so speaking of which, should a 13-year-old be allowed to get an abortion whenever they want without the consent of their parents?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. So, are you saying 13-year-olds should be allowed to have sex with whoever they want?
No.
Okay. What should be the age that people can have sex with whoever they want?
I would fall on 18.
Oh, well, you do know the age of consent in majority, if not all first world countries, is 16.
What does that have to do with anything?
No, I was just letting you know. So you chose 18.
Yep.
So you're saying 17-year-olds should not be allowed to have sex?
I think there could be age brackets for 16 and up. So like 16 would be fine between like 16 and 18. And then when you reach 18, that could just be for anyone. But like if you're below 18, there should be like an age bracket. You can't be outside of the age bracket.
Oh, this is fascinating because I believe, okay, your answer was different a year ago. Are you aware right now that in most states in America and all of UK, Europe, Canada, Australia, pretty much all of the first world, once you're 16, you can have sex with whoever you want. Are you aware of that?
No.
Were you not aware of that, or are you disagreeing with me?
Both.
Where was I wrong? I said you did.
No, I thought you meant disagree with that fact.
Oh, okay. So wait, so you would change Canada's age of consent, for example?
Yeah, I would say like starting at 16, it would be an age bracket, and then once you reach 18, then that includes anyone above 18.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, hypothetically, what if somebody already had sex with a 17-year-old while it was legal before the law passed? Should that person be charged or no?
Before the law passed?
Yeah. So while it was legal, they did it. They had sex with 17, but now the law is passed, so they're no longer allowed to have sex with a 17. Should there be punishment?
I would say no. I don't think I believe in criminalizing those who did actions in the past in which it was legal during that time.
Good. I'm glad you said that. Okay. All right. So when it comes to voting, you said 18. Guns, you said 18. And parental consent is not really required because they're 18. Tattoo, you also would say 18, right?
Yeah, and then parental consent at 16.
Okay. So tattoo is also 18. And sex, you also said 18. Now with tattoo, you said parental consent 16.
Yep.
Would you say the same for sex? Now I know this is very unorthodox, but we're trying to again get the thing. If for some reason the parent of a 16-year-old allowed their child to have sex with someone who's 20, would you be okay with that?
No, I'm saying that you can have sex at 16, but the issue is that you would only be available to 16-year-old all the way up to 18.
I know.
You can't have. Yeah.
No, but what if the parents are allowing this person to have sex with a 20-year-old? They still shouldn't be allowed?
No. I don't think so. I don't think that person. I don't know. It's quite the debate.
Wow. Fascinating. Okay, you are. Wow, I never expected that. Okay. Let's get to drugs. Should kids be allowed to do drugs without parental consent?
No.
Okay, so once you're 18, you should be allowed, right?
Right.
But if they're 14 and their parents are giving them permission, does that make a difference?
No.
Fascinating. Okay. Let me save myself the trouble. Would you say there's any topic that, with parental consent, a minor should be allowed? Anything? Surgeries, drugs, tattoos, sex, jobs, anything?
Yeah, under certain delimited conditions, yes.
Okay, good. All right. Now let's get to the hardest and most controversial part of the video. I have 22 minutes left. Surgeries, puberty blockers, all that good stuff. How would you say your knowledge of that stuff is?
Pretty poor.
Okay, I should be honest. That's why I said some of these questions you can save for later, and obviously you're human. You know, people could change their mind in a year or something. And even at the beginning, you told me that you're not the intellectual representation of objectivism. So, and that's respectable. Let's talk about surgeries. Should a minor, let's say 14, be allowed to get any transgender surgeries without the consent of their parents?
No.
Now, should they be able to get any transgender surgery with the consent of their parents?
Depends of what surgeries there are, because if the standard that I'm using is that if the surgery is permanent and long-term, meaning irreversible, this is going to affect not only their social life, but romantic life, and then their overall conception of themselves and how they're going to operate within life. So this is ultimately an adult decision. My thing is that if the surgery is irreversible, thus impacting the rest of their lives in that way, I don't think that parental consent here would be relevant, considering that this wouldn't be an adult decision and nobody knows themselves more than they do. The parents don't know the child as much as the child knows itself. So I would say parental consent here would be relevant. But now if it's something reversible, something that you can change your mind about, then that's fine.
Okay, see, now this is where things get interesting. Because it seems that you pretty much agree with the Peterson view. Which, by the way, reading his book, Peterson sounds very, very objectivist. But anyway, he pretty much said all surgeries for people under 16 should be completely banned, with or without parental consent. And personally, at first, I thought that was really weird, but I kind of understand you and him now more. You're right. Some things are not even up to the parents. Because I was also thinking of, like, by my logic of parental consent, then technically parents should be allowed to sell their kids as sex slaves. That would be the easy counter argument, right? Because, it's parental consent, right?
Yep.
So I see. What you and him say are way more consistent. Okay, now here's the problem, though. When it comes to the data, there are so many... Unfortunately, we live in a time where the scientists and researchers have become just very ideological, very left-leaning. And, I mean, not that it's good to be ideologically right-leaning. It's just better not to be ideological at all, left-leaning or right-leaning. Just don't be ideological. Focus on the facts and the science. And so, unfortunately, they skew a lot of data. Based on what I've seen, it seems like and this was the most liberal estimate, was like 34% of surgeries end up going horrifically wrong on mine. And that was a liberal estimate. So you can only imagine what the real estimate is. So would you say something like this should be banned for people under 16 because of the horrific results?
What are the results?
What? Sorry?
What are the results?
I'm saying at least 1/3 of these minor surgeries done on minors end up causing permanent damage. That person no longer ends up being able to reproduce, and they also end up being on surgeries for life. Like, you have to get continual surgeries. It's not like a one-time surgery, like a tattoo, where you get a tattoo and then you're done for life. No, it's a continual, like, yearly surgery. Yeah. So should it be banned?
I think that's a significant number in which that requires an adult to make that decision, which means being 18.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. So 16 and 17 should not be allowed to get those surgeries.
No.
Now, considering the data is really, again, there is a lot of ideological push in this, and let's not forget, this is a very good money-making business. Because, unlike most things, if you're a trans doctor, or not trans doctor, but a doctor who does trans surgeries, your customers are for life. You're pretty much like a drug dealer. You know what I mean? Like, these guys are always going to come back to you yearly. So it's good business. And speaking of good business, what would you say to people who claim... Now, I've seen your TikTok. I know you're smart enough to know that slavery is not capitalism, which I don't have to explain it. Most people are stupid enough to think slavery is capitalism. But what would you say to people that capitalism is very exploitative, not in terms of slavery, but in terms of stuff like this, where they make a lot of profit off of, doing surgeries on minors. Would you say that's capitalism or no?
Yeah, that would be capitalism in the sense that the medical centers in which they're performing these surgeries are privately owned, and
Yep.
people are having the free choice to come in and shop and buy these surgeries. That's capitalism.
Yeah, interesting. Now, would you say child slavery is capital? Not slavery. Children working in factories in terrific condition. Is that capitalism?
I would say that was the beginning of American capitalism, but it's because of capitalism that children no longer had to work in those factories.
Interesting. Okay. I'm happy you said that because, yeah. But would you have said the same about slavery? Was slavery the beginning of capitalism or not?
No, the beginning of capitalism started in 1865.
It was 2 years before Canada became a country. What happened then?
Slavery was abolished.
Oh, yeah. No, that's good. Would you say from 1865 all the way to 1917 when the
1913.
1913. You're aware of where I'm going with this, where the 17th Amendment, being passed of income tax?
I wouldn't say the 17th Amendment. I would say the establishment of the Federal Reserve.
Oh, God, yes! I mean, hopefully you don't end up committing suicide for questioning the Federal Reserve. Right? You're not feeling any suicidal, are you?
Not at all.
Okay, good. Me neither. I'm very happy to be alive. So, okay, would you say your ideal society or your ideal system of government would be what America was from 1865 all the way to 1913?
I wouldn't say like that. I would say the 1865 is the beginning of capitalism because that's when they started to establish property rights by through experience. The fact that they had to witness a whole lot of new cases and how people interacted with one another freely for the first time because they had slavery obligated the government to start establishing private property laws and try to make them as consistent as possible. That's why 1865 is such a remarkable time period. But the ideal society, I would definitely say, later 1800s. We're talking about 1880s, 1890s, roughly around there. That's when private property rights were more concretized in the American system, and people had free businesses roaming. We're talking about the Carnegies, the Rockefellers, people like that.
Sorry. What about the Rockefellers? Sorry.
I'm saying like those are examples of free persons within America that had their right of property established and protected, and this is why what they have created would be an example of capitalism, the industry that they've made.
Oh, I see. Yeah, no, fair enough. And you said you're doing some research on Black America's history, right?
Somewhat.
Well, yeah, and isn't it true that they had the biggest wage growth from the 1900s until the 1960s? While they actually had if you compare 1900 to 1960, the wage growth of the median income of the average Black American was significantly faster and higher than it is from 1960 to 2020 when the whole civil rights thing was passed and stuff. That's what I found, and I just wanted to see if you've run into that.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. And that's why, no, I could tell you what your point is. Okay. Fair enough then. Would you say in the future any of your views on age would change? So maybe today you're saying 16, but you think in a year from now you might say 15 or 18 or something?
I wouldn't go any lower than 16 on any of my issues.
Interesting. Okay. Would you say I know you're probably going to say no to this state by state when it comes to abortion. You're against that, right? You think all states should have the same abortion rights, right?
Correct.
Okay, but when it comes to transgender surgeries and puberty blockers and all that, would you say that's a good thing for it to be a state by state so we can have a petri dish?
No.
Really? So you think all 50 states should have the exact same view when it comes to children and surgeries and all that?
Concerning age laws, yes.
Okay. What would you say is an issue that you're okay with? That it be left up to the states?
Things like where we're going to place the new courthouse or the police station, things like that. Or coming up ways to fund certain governmental or facilities and organizations.
Huh. Okay. So, okay. Are you aware what the biggest difference between Canada's provincial system and America's state system is?
No.
Okay. The difference is pretty much our federal government has pretty much all the power, and our provinces can only do pretty much what you just said, which is, choose where the courthouse and the police station and all that is, and maybe tax rates. But when it comes to criminal, none of the provinces in Canada can ever decide what someone can go to jail for. While in America, no, states can decide something could be criminal. Is that something that you want a more Canadian thing or an American thing when it comes to jail?
Canadian.
Really? So you don't want the states to have a choice in deciding who goes to prison?
No, the states are deciding who's going to prison by having these people go into the state court and labeling them as guilty. But the laws that they're going to be referencing in order to come to that decision will be federal.
Oh, okay. So you literally want a Canadian system when it comes to state rights.
There's no such thing as states' rights.
Yes. Okay. I know individual has rights, and even in the Constitution, the 9th Amendment literally is rights of the individual, and the 10th Amendment is right of the states. So even the founders put the individual before the states.
Yep.
And speaking of amendments, obviously I know you're pro-gun rights and pro-free speech. However, if you can only have one gun to your head, which would you say?
What?
I know you support the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. But if you can only pick one, what would you pick?
The First Amendment.
Yeah. And have you noticed that pattern where in the Constitution, the order of the amendments is... I'm honestly, I've shocked Americans with my founding of... The order of the amendments are also the order of how important they are. Have you noticed that?
I don't remember the order.
Well, I know the first 5, and just I don't know. When you get a time, look at the Constitution. I bet you won't be able to find any amendment that is more important than the one before it. The order is actually really, really fascinating.
I don't know. The 14th Amendment, Section 1 is pretty important.
Well, isn't that the one involuntary servitude?
No, Amendment 14, Section 1 says that no born person should be bribed of their rights by the state.
I wonder why you care about that one. Okay. But I would say the 9th one is more important than that, because the 9th says the individual must be sovereign. So the only issue is, how do we define the individual, and that's something that people need to learn to define. Okay, I believe I asked all the questions I needed to ask you. Actually, I just want to double check the age ones. So pretty much, once you're 18, you agree pretty much everything should be allowed. And
right.
Below 18, you pretty much said, for sex, for example, you're okay with 16 to 18-year-olds having sex. Now, when it comes to surgeries, you said... Oh, sorry, I didn't write this one down. For surgeries, you said 18?
Yep.
Wow. So even with parental consent, you wouldn't allow surgeries for minors.
It depends on what surgery is being performed.
Okay, what if it's tattoo? Tattoo is okay, right? Even if parental or
Yeah, yeah, that's fine.
What about puberty blockers? I forgot to mention. So should a 10-year-old be allowed to take puberty blockers?
I'm not entirely too sure on the permanent effects of puberty blockers.
Well, unfortunately, again, the data is very, ideologically driven. So hopefully you can do better research than I can. But from what I found, puberty blockers are, again, it's probably that 34%, again, liberal estimates of 34% where things can go wrong because you're kind of delaying puberty. But the problem is, and this is what the leftists understand, is you can't pause time. So these puberty blockers, they just try to delay something, but nature still keeps going. You know what I mean? This is why they, again, what would you say again? Even let's just
this would not, it would not be allowed.
Not at all, even with or without parental consent.
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
Fascinating. That is actually quite fascinating. What position? Oh, I'm sorry. Gracie was actually asking some questions. She said, "Well, if you had the Second Amendment revolution established, yep, that should something for not to attend. Kids should be seen as a psychologist. If the dysphoria is that unbearable." Actually, yeah. Even if they see a psychiatrist or psychologist, you would say no, right? Because the risk is too high.
I'm not entirely sure the relevance of seeing a psychologist here.
No, because she's saying that if the gender dysphoria is so unbearable for this child, they really want to get a surgery or puberty blocker. Do you think that should be allowed?
No.
All right. That's, you know what? Honestly, by the end of this interview, I thought I would pretty much hate you, but you actually impressed me even more. Now, what position do you want to be? Do you ever want to be in the U.S. government?
No.
Never? I mean, but you're open to change your mind when you're like 40, right?
Perhaps.
Perhaps. By the way, have you ever heard of the party switch?
Yes.
Do you think it happened? It didn't happen? How do you feel about it?
I'm not too sure.
Okay. Now, where can send me a DM of all the links you want people to find you? Kudwy, it was a pleasure talking to you. Like I said, I mean, we only have 3 minutes left, so maybe in the future we could talk foreign policy. But like I said, personally, I think I would personally vote for you as senator, governor, anything except for president. I would not vote for president because foreign policy is something that I have no idea what your take is on. So maybe we'll save that for a different day. Is there
Iran's oil is our oil.
Sorry, say it again.
I said Iran's oil is our oil.
Iran. Excuse me. Excuse me. Iran's oil belongs to the Jews. No, I'm joking. Okay. All right. Are you having any event or live stream or anything in the near future?
I'm having a debate coming up on God's existence and Margaret Sanger this Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay. Wait, American Thanksgiving. Canada's Thanksgiving was... When is America's Thanksgiving?
Like November 26th, something like that.
Okay. Interesting. Well, thank you for this. Do you think, is there any question that I missed?
No.
All right. Good. Thank you for this. I'm going to post this video on YouTube and Rumble. Oh, God. Okay. I knew there was something I missed. Okay. Free speech. Let's just go over it quickly. You believe the private companies should be allowed to ban whoever they want from their platforms, right?
Yes.
Including politicians.
Yes.
Okay. Uh, Again, I don't want to debate. I just want to understand. You don't think that's dangerous?
No.
You don't think it's dangerous to give? Because some companies pretty much control the entire public square of the entire global debates, and you don't think? Again, I'm not saying government should intervene, and well, actually, I am saying government should intervene, but I'm not saying government should uh, attack companies. I think you should just only force companies to follow the First Amendment. That's it. And you disagree with that?
Force companies to follow the First Amendment?
Yeah, that's it. I'm not saying again force them to.
The way you would do that is
Right.
by allowing and protecting the right of companies to ban people.
Interesting. And would you agree that currently a lot of social media companies have a lot of sway in elections? I'm not saying they're cheating, but I'm just saying they can suppress information if they want to, and that's okay.
I think it's because they're actually tied to the government, financially, and structurally.
Oh, so you don't think they're doing it from their self-interest?
What?
You don't think those companies are doing it from their self-interest? You think they're just tied to the government? To the government's force?
Yeah, not the rational self-interest, of course not. But they definitely lobby the government, and the government is definitely tied with social media organizations.
Interesting. And okay.
And that's why we should ban.
Sorry?
And that's why we should ban lobbying.
Ban lobbying. Okay, interesting. That's a fair take, I guess. Speaking of banning things, should states be allowed to block people from entering their state? Immigrants.
Should
the federal government be able to block people from entering their country?
Of course.
Okay. So the federal, yes. Should the states be allowed to block? Not people born in that state. I'm sure you'd agree. If someone was born in Florida and wants to go back to Florida, that's fine.
I would say only block if they have ample evidence that that person is a threat.
Fascinating. Okay. So, okay, fair enough. And okay, and you think that your view kind of changed on immigration. Again, you think it's okay for the government to just block, and they could decide kids to come in. If they want more doctors, bring them in. Right? You don't think immigration is a right, right?
No.
Okay.
Free movement is a right.
But not to other countries. Right?
I would say that you have the right to freely move to the United States, but that would require you to get vetted.
Allowed to be vetted, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Inspected.
Okay. Fair enough. And speaking of vetting and inspecting, if somebody somehow snuck across the border and they were pregnant, because you do know the U.S. border is really big. The U.S. is the third biggest country. So if it's across the border and their baby was born in America, you believe that baby should get automatic citizenship?
That would be a tough one, but I think as of initially, I would say no, because it was acquired by illegal means.
Wow, based. Okay, interesting. Okay, interesting. And last but not least, I would love to have you on my World War III live stream in the future, because I would say I'm an expert in World War, and not World War, sorry, foreign policy. And I'm curious. I want to check your knowledge of foreign policy. What do you think is the most likely outcome right now? A nuclear war or a civil war? So, meaning nuclear war with Russia, obviously, or a civil war within Canada or USA? Which is more like?
No idea.
Really? Okay. I would say, I mean, I honestly can bet my life that we'll never have a nuclear war. I think because everybody's got nukes, so it's and I already asked this, but are you more worried about what's happening with Russia or what's happening with abortion rights in America?
I'm not sure.
Okay, fair enough. And if Taiwan is invaded by China, should we intervene? By we, I mean the West.
Not sure.
I respect that. Because these are foreign policy stuff that answers were going to have to come sooner than later. Is there anything else you want to tell me before we sign off?
Nope.
All right. Thank you so much for doing this. I owe you big time. I'm going to post all your links. Where do you want people to find you? I'll post all of them in the description and the comment section.
I mean, you could just look up Aporiainstitute on TikTok. That's about it.
Like that. And YouTube and all that. Do you want me to give all that?
Yeah, the YouTube and TikTok. That's fine.
YouTube. Anything else?
Huh? That's all.
Okay. Thank you so much for doing this. And have a wonderful day.